3:30 in the morning. A bathroom smaller than a prison cell. A man sits on cold tile, duct taping his feet back together. Both shins are fractured. The bones in his feet have stress cracks running through them like shattered glass. In 4 hours, he will run 6 miles with a boat on his head. Right now, his hands are shaking, not from fear, from the realization that he is doing this to himself, voluntarily, and he is not going to stop. This is David Goggins, and this moment, alone in the dark with broken bones and silver tape, is where he built the most powerful weapon he would ever own: his mind. What nobody knows yet is that this same man weighed 297 pounds just months earlier. He sprayed cockroaches for $1,000 a month. He lived in a world so small, he thought trying hard meant showing up to work on time. He had no idea what was inside him. And the terrifying part is that most people never will, because they never push past the point where the brain starts screaming to stop. They never find out what happens when you refuse to listen. How did a man who could not swim, could not remember a single paragraph, could not do a single pull-up, become a Navy SEAL who completed 3 Hell Weeks in 1 year and ran on fractures that would hospitalize most people? That is exactly what we are going to find out. The brain is the most powerful weapon you will ever have, but here's the thing: it does not work for you by default. When you are alone, when you are in depression, when you are facing death or failure, or the kind of silence that makes your thoughts scream, there is no Google. There is no therapist who can fill all 24 hours of your day. It is just you and your brain. And your brain talks, constantly. It tries to control you. It pushes you toward comfort. It tells you to quit. It shows you the exit. And if you do not learn to control it, it will control you. It will tell you where to go. And that place is usually backwards. Goggins learned this early, not because he was smart, because he had no other choice. He grew up in a $7 a month apartment. That was his normal. Poverty was not a phase. It was his baseline. When he moved to a place that cost $236 a month, he swore he would never go back. That moment taught him something crucial. Normal is not fixed. Normal is whatever your mind accepts as the standard, and you can reset that standard whenever you want. But resetting it requires suffering. It requires you to make pain the new baseline. So when Goggins decided to become a Navy SEAL, he did not just endure the training. He rewired what his brain considered survivable. SEAL training normally lasts 6 months. Goggins was in it for 18 months. He went through 3 separate Hell Weeks in 1 year. 3 times he was pushed to the edge of human endurance. 3 times he came back, because he created what he calls a new norm. Every single day, he told himself the same thing: this suffering is normal now. The duct tape feet are normal. The fractured shins are normal. The shin splints that make every step feel like a knife going through your leg are normal. And his mind, after enough repetition, believed him. It stopped resisting. It adapted. It got tougher. Most people think toughness is something you are born with. Goggins knows it is something you build, one brutal day at a time, until your brain realizes you are never going to stop. And once it realizes that, it stops fighting you. It starts working with you. But getting to that point requires going through a phase most people will never touch. The phase where everything in you is screaming to quit. And you go anyway. Goggins could not swim. He was negatively buoyant. That means when he got in the water, he sank. His body composition made it nearly impossible to stay afloat. Most people would take that as a sign. Not me, not built for this. Goggins went back to the pool. Again, and again, and again. He did not wait for his body to magically change. He forced it to adapt. He forced his mind to override the panic of sinking. And eventually, his body learned. The same thing happened with studying. Goggins could not remember paragraphs. He would read something for a military test and nothing would stick. So he read it again. Still nothing. So he did something most people would never have the patience to do. He wrote it out, by hand, over and over and over, until the words were carved into his brain. Not because he was smart, because he refused to accept that his brain could not do it. He brute forced his way through a limitation most people would call permanent, and his mind learned a lesson that would carry him through everything that came next. You are not going to stop, so I might as well help you. That is the moment when the brain becomes a weapon instead of an obstacle. That is the moment when you stop being controlled and start controlling. But here is what makes Goggins different from most motivational stories. He did not start strong. He started at 297 pounds, spraying cockroaches in houses that smelled like decay. He made $1,000 a month. He thought he was trying hard. He thought that was his ceiling. And the scariest thing, the thing that still haunts him, is that it could have been. That life could have been the rest of his life. If he had not looked in the mirror one day and asked a question most people never ask. What if I am not even close to my limit? What if everything I think is hard is actually easy, and I just do not know it yet? That question changed everything. Because years later, after losing 106 pounds, after graduating SEAL training, after running on broken bones and duct-taped feet, he looked back at that version of himself and realized something horrifying. That guy at 297 pounds was not even at 10% of his potential. He thought he was maxed out. He was not even close. And that is the truth most people never discover. You do not know what is in you until you try. Not try casually, not try when you feel like it. Try obsessively. Try when your body is broken. Try when your brain is begging you to stop. Try at 3:30 in the morning when no one is watching and there is no applause and no reward except the knowledge that you did not quit. That is when you find out what you are made of. Goggins studied his own mind like a scientist. He was a scared kid with no foundation, no mentors, no system. So he researched. He read about the brain. He read about fear. He read about pain. And he built his own operating system from scratch. He discovered that the brain has a shutdown mechanism. When suffering gets bad enough, when the pain crosses a certain threshold, the brain sends a signal, quit right here. This is enough. You have done enough. Most people obey that signal. Goggins learned to ignore it, not by being tougher, by going deeper. He realized that anger can start the engine, rage can get you moving, but anger fades, rage burns out. And when it does, you need something else, something that does not burn. He calls it the mineral soil core of your soul. It is the part of you that is fireproof, the part that suffering cannot touch. But you do not find it by accident. You find it by spending time with the person you want to be. Goggins wanted to serve his country. He wanted to be proud of himself. And every single day he woke up disappointed because he was not that person yet. He had no peace. And here's the part most people get wrong. He did not find peace first and then do the hard things. He found peace on the opposite end, after the trials, after the tribulations, after the suffering, after the accountability. Accountability is suffering. It is not a motivational poster. It is not a feeling. It is the miserable daily grind of forcing yourself to do what is right even when no one is watching. Even when it does not feel good, even when the smallest details seem pointless. Goggins held himself accountable to everything, the big things and the small things, because he knew that discipline is not selective. You cannot be disciplined in combat and lazy in your kitchen. The brain does not work that way. It learns patterns, and if you let yourself slide in the small things, you will slide in the big things. So he built a system. Every day, every decision, every moment alone with his thoughts. He asked himself one question: am I doing what I said I would do? And if the answer was no, he suffered until it was yes. That is accountability. That is the real weight, not the external pressure, the internal demand, the refusal to lie to yourself. Think about what Goggins is attempting. He is running on broken legs while the people next to him are healthy. Most people would see that as a disadvantage. He saw it as fuel, because the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, does not care if you are injured. It cares if you are in danger. And when you are broken and still moving, still fighting, still refusing to quit, that system floods your body with power. He was not ignoring the pain. He was feeding on it. At 3:30 in the morning, sitting on that cold tile floor, duct taping his feet, he was already at a disadvantage, already behind, already broken. And he still showed up. That is not toughness. That is insanity. Unless you reframe it, unless you tell yourself, I am broken and I am still here. I have no other choice. I have no other place to go. This is my life now. And when you frame it that way, when you make suffering your identity instead of your obstacle, it becomes power. But only if you refuse to use it as an excuse. Only if you say, I am broken and I am still fighting. Not, I am broken so I will fail. That shift is everything. That shift is the difference between the person who quits and the person who becomes something no one thought was possible. Goggins did not have talent. He did not have genetics. He did not have a support system. He had one thing, the refusal to stop. And he used that one thing to build everything else. The brain adapts. It has no choice. If you keep showing up, if you keep pushing past the point where it tells you to quit, it will eventually realize that you are serious. And once it realizes that, it stops resisting. It starts helping. It gets tougher. It finds ways to operate while broken. It rewires itself around the damage. And you become someone you did not know you could be. But here is the cruel part. The part no one talks about. Getting there is lonely. It is miserable. It is boring. It is repetitive. It is duct taping your feet at 3:30 in the morning for the 100th time. It is reading the same paragraph 40 times because your brain will not hold it. It is sinking in the pool again and again and again. There is no montage. There is no music. There is just you and the thing you are trying to do. And the only thing that gets you through is the knowledge that this suffering has a purpose. You are not suffering because life is unfair. You are suffering because you chose a hard goal and you refuse to lower the standard. You are suffering because you are building something, and that something is you. Goggins found his core, not in a moment of victory, not on a podium, not when someone was watching. He found it alone, in pain, in the dark. When his brain was screaming and his body was broken and there was no logical reason to continue, he found the part of him that does not burn, the part that says, I do not care what this costs. I am not going back. And once you find that part, once you know it exists, everything changes. Because you know that no matter what happens, no matter how bad it gets, you have a place inside you that nothing can touch, a place that suffering cannot reach, a place that fear cannot control. And that place is not given to you. It is not genetic. It is not luck. It is built, one repetition at a time, one refusal at a time. One morning at 3:30, when no one is watching and you tape your broken feet together and go anyway. That is where the weapon is forged. Most people will never find it, because most people stop when it hurts. They stop when the brain says stop. They listen to the voice that says, this is enough. Goggins stopped listening, and when he did, he found out what most people never will, that the limit you think you have is a lie, that the person you think you are is a rough draft, that the brain is the most powerful weapon you will ever own, but only if you take control of it, only if you tell it where to go, because if you do not, it will tell you, and it will always choose comfort. It will always choose easy. It will always choose less. Unless you teach it otherwise, unless you make suffering the norm, unless you go so deep into the pain that you find the part of you that cannot be broken. And once you find it, you never forget it. You carry it with you into every hard moment, into every failure, into every time the brain says quit. And you say no, not because you are special, because you decided to be. Sometimes the most powerful weapon in any fight is not strength, not talent, not luck. It is the refusal to stop, and the knowledge that your brain will adapt, if you give it no other choice.